Welcome back to Dundell Cyberspace, everyone. Today, we're diving headfirst into a topic that has sparked countless debates, filled our social media feeds, and transformed grocery aisles: the ketogenic, or simply keto diet. It's a truly global phenomenon, and to help us navigate its intricacies, we have an incredible expert with us. Please welcome Dr. Evelyn Reed, a renowned nutritionist and metabolic health specialist. Dr. Reed, it's fantastic to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Eric. I'm genuinely excited to chat about keto today. It's such a pervasive and fascinating topic, and there's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely, and that's why we brought you in. So for many of our listeners who might just be hearing the term keto, it can seem a bit mysterious, Let's start with the absolute basics. Dr. Reed, what exactly is the ketogenic diet at its core? How does it fundamentally work?
That's a perfect place to begin, Eric. In basic terms, the ketogenic diet is a very specific eating plan designed to shift your body's primary fuel source. Normally, your body loves to run on glucose, which it gets from carbohydrates. But on a keto diet, you drastically cut down on carbs. We're talking about restricting them to often 50 grams or even less per day, sometimes as low as 20 grams, especially for stricter plans. This is a huge reduction compared to the typical 100 to 250 grams most people consume.
Wow, that's a significant drop. So if you're not getting energy from carbs, where does the body get it from then? Is that where ketosis comes in?
Exactly. When you limit carbohydrates to such an extent, your body is forced to find an alternative fuel source. It essentially switches gears and starts burning fat for energy. This metabolic state is called ketosis. As your body breaks down fat, it produces molecules called ketones, which then become the primary fuel for your brain and body. Think of it like your body getting a new, incredibly efficient engine that runs on fat instead of sugar.
That's a great analogy. I love that. So what does that translate to in terms of what you're actually eating on a daily basis? What's the macronutrient breakdown?
Great question. The macronutrient breakdown is very specific. It's very high in fat, moderate in protein, and very low in carbohydrates. We're generally looking at fats making up about 70 to 75% of your daily calories, protein around 15 to 20%, and carbs a tiny 5 to 10%. This means you're focusing on foods like eggs, poultry, fatty fish such as salmon, meats, full-fat dairy, nuts, seeds, and healthy oils like olive or avocado oil, and plenty of non-starchy vegetables like leafy greens, broccoli, and cauliflower.
And what about the don't eats? What are the big things you'd be saying goodbye to on a keto diet?
Right. You'd be avoiding most sugary items, like bread, pasta, and rice, starchy vegetables like potatoes and corn, and most fruits. Sugar-sweetened beverages are definitely out, and even many legumes. It's quite a restrictive approach, which is why it often requires a lot of planning.
That makes a lot of sense. And, I've heard whispers that this isn't just some new fad, that it actually has a history beyond weight loss. Is that true, Dr. Reed?
Absolutely. You're spot on, Eric. While it's trending globally now for weight loss, the ketogenic diet actually emerged in the 1920s. Its original purpose was, and still is, a medical therapy for children with epilepsies, particularly those who don't respond to conventional medications. It's quite effective in managing seizures for some individuals, so it definitely has a foundational clinical background.
Wow, that's really interesting how something developed for a specific medical condition has become such a widespread dietary trend. So, building on that, many people are drawn to keto specifically for its potential benefits, beyond its original use, right? What are the primary advantages or positive effects you've seen or studied, particularly the ones that attract so many people?
Well, the number one draw for most people is indeed weight loss. And it can be quite effective for rapid initial weight loss, with some seeing several pounds drop in the first week. This is partly due to water loss as your body depletes glycogen stores, but also because ketosis can lead to reduced appetite and increased satiety, making it easier to consume fewer calories overall. Some studies even suggest a metabolic advantage, where people on keto might lose more weight despite similar calorie and protein intake, and experience less hunger compared to high-carb diets. It can be particularly effective at reducing harmful abdominal fat, which is a big risk factor for metabolic diseases.
So it's not just about losing weight quickly, but also about helping control hunger, which is huge for anyone on a diet. You mentioned metabolic health. How exactly does it impact things like blood sugar?
It has a significant positive impact on blood sugar control. For individuals with type 2 diabetes, the keto diet can drastically lower blood sugar levels and improve insulin sensitivity. There are studies showing that it can lead to a reversal of type 2 diabetes in a significant percentage of participants. A 1-year-long study with 349 adults showed reversal in approximately 60% of participants, and many reduced their insulin dependence.
That's quite a profound effect on diabetes. Wow. What about everyday energy levels and mental clarity? I hear a lot about keto flu at the start, but then people often rave about sustained energy,
That's a great point. The keto flu is definitely a real initial hurdle, and we can talk more about that later. But once the body adapts to burning fat and ketones, many people report sustained energy levels throughout the day, without the energy crashes associated with high-carb meals. And yes, many also describe improved mental clarity and focus. The brain functions very efficiently on ketones.
And going back to its origins, are there still ongoing neurological benefits being researched beyond epilepsy, like for cognitive function, for example?
Absolutely. The diet's neuroprotective effects are a fascinating area of ongoing research. Beyond epilepsy, where it's a well-established treatment, studies are exploring its potential in managing conditions like Alzheimer's disease and other neurological disorders, where it may help the brain overcome energy deficits and reduce oxidative stress. It's a promising area, but more research is definitely needed.
That's really insightful, Dr. Reed. It sounds like there are some compelling benefits there. But, as with any dietary approach, there are always nuances and potential downsides. What are some of the effects or challenges individuals might experience on keto, both short-term as they adapt and over the long term?
This is a critical part of the conversations, Eric, definitely. The most common short-term challenge is what we just touched on, the keto flu. As your body transitions from burning carbs to fat, you might experience headaches, fatigue, grogginess, nausea, dizziness, and irritability. It's often due to dehydration and electrolyte imbalances as your body sheds water.
So that flu feeling is essentially your body adjusting to a new fuel source. And how long does that typically last? And what can people do to mitigate it? That's really important for anyone considering it.
Exactly. It's like a detox period for your metabolism. For most, it lasts a few days to a week, but in more severe cases, it can linger for up to a month. The best ways to mitigate it are to stay extremely well hydrated, ensure adequate electrolyte intake like sodium, potassium, and magnesium, perhaps through bone broth or supplements, and get plenty of rest. Some even find that a slower transition into keto helps.
That makes sense. Now, because the diet is so restrictive, what about the risk of nutrient deficiencies, Dr. Reed? Are people missing out on important vitamins and minerals?
That's a significant concern, absolutely. By eliminating entire healthy food groups like whole grains, many fruits, and certain starchy vegetables and legumes, you're cutting out crucial sources of fiber, vitamins, and minerals like calcium, vitamin D, magnesium, and phosphorus. One study even found that very low-carb diets provided sufficient amounts for only 12 out of 27 necessary vitamins and minerals. It really highlights the importance of choosing nutrient-dense whole foods within the allowed categories, and potentially considering targeted supplementation under guidance.
And what about digestive issues like constipation, which seems to come up with many restrictive diets? That's a common complaint, I think.
Yes. Constipation is a very common side effect due to the reduced fiber intake. In studies on children with epilepsy on keto, as high as 65% experienced constipation. It can also potentially impact gut bacteria composition, and while research is conflicting, gut health is incredibly important.
Okay, so we've got the immediate discomfort and potential nutrient gaps. That makes sense. What are the longer-term considerations then? I've heard concerns about things like cholesterol and kidney health.
You're hitting on the big ones, Eric. For the long term, weight regain is common if the diet is stopped, as it's hard for many to sustain. Cholesterol levels are a mixed bag. While it can improve triglycerides and HDL, some individuals see an elevation in bad LDL cholesterol, which can increase cardiovascular disease risk, especially with a high intake of saturated fats. This is why regular monitoring is crucial. As for kidney health, a high animal product intake can acidify the blood and urine, potentially increasing the risk of kidney stones. It's definitely not recommended for anyone with pre-existing kidney disease or liver disease due to protein metabolism challenges. There's also some research linking it to decreased bone strength and lower bone mineral density.
Wow, that's a lot to consider, especially the bone health aspect. I hadn't heard that before. That's really interesting. So, to be absolutely clear, Dr. Reed, who should we consider to absolutely avoid the keto diet or at least be extremely cautious?
The keto diet is definitely not for everyone. It's strongly to avoid for pregnant or breastfeeding women. Individuals with pre-existing medical conditions such as kidney failure, liver disease, pancreatitis, gallbladder issues, or fat metabolism disorders should avoid it. It's also generally not recommended for individuals with type 1 diabetes due to the increased risk of a serious condition called diabetes-related ketoacidosis, which is different from nutritional ketosis and much more dangerous. For type 2 diabetics, especially those on insulin, there's a significant risk of hypoglycemia or dangerously low blood sugar. One study found type 1 diabetics on keto experience nearly 1 low blood sugar event per day.
That's a huge point about professional guidance then. It sounds like you absolutely must talk to a doctor or a registered dietitian before even thinking about starting this, wouldn't you say?
100%, Eric. I cannot stress this enough. Before making such a drastic dietary change, consulting a healthcare professional, a doctor or a registered dietitian, is absolutely non-negotiable. They can assess your individual health status, monitor for potential risks, advise on safe implementation, and help ensure nutritional adequacy. It needs to be a personalized approach.
That's really important advice. Now, let's pivot a bit because beyond the science, keto seems to be a worldwide phenomenon, you know? From your perspective, Dr. Reed, how is it trending globally and what might be driving its widespread adoption, despite some of the significant caveats you just mentioned?
It truly is a global sensation. I mean, it was the most Googled food-related term in 2020, and on platforms like TikTok, it has over 10 billion hashtags. That speaks volumes. A huge driver is definitely social media and celebrity influence. When popular figures endorse a diet, it amplifies its reach exponentially. People see rapid weight loss testimonials online, and it's incredibly compelling.
So, that immediate visual gratification you see on social media definitely plays a huge role. But then, as you mentioned earlier, that's a double-edged sword, right? Because with that accessibility of information, there's also a lot of misinformation out there, isn't there?
Absolutely. The internet has made information incredibly accessible, which is wonderful in many ways. But it also means there's a flood of unqualified advice and anecdotal claims. People can easily get caught up in the hype without understanding the scientific nuances or potential risks, especially the groups who should avoid it. It's challenging for the average person to discern reliable sources from unverified claims.
I can certainly see that. And from a market perspective, it seems like the food industry has totally leaned into this. I mean, I see keto-friendly products everywhere now.
Yes, the convenience of keto products has exploded globally. We've seen a massive rise in keto-friendly snacks, meals, and supplements. There was a 21% increase in dollar sales for keto-friendly snacks and baked goods in the year prior to September 2021. Companies like Base Culture and Miss Jones Baking Company are actively developing gluten-free, low-sugar baked goods and high-protein, low-carb options, even plant-based ones, to cater to this demand. It makes adherence much easier for many, at least in theory, because you don't have to cook everything from scratch.
It's fascinating, especially the plant-based angle, given that traditional keto often leans heavily on animal products. What about geographic variations, Dr. Reed? Do certain regions embrace it more than others? Or is it more adapted culturally?
That's harder to track precisely, but certainly in places with a strong health and wellness culture, or where there's already a significant focus on low-carb or paleo-style eating, keto seems to integrate more readily. However, it's really the Western world that has driven much of its mainstream popularity. Culturally, adapting it can be tricky. For instance, in many Asian cuisines, rice and noodles are central, making a strict keto approach a significant departure.
And finally, when we talk about popularity and trends, there's always the question of sustainability, right? How well do people actually adhere to keto long term? And is it a truly sustainable lifestyle change? Because, we saw a low-carb craze in the early 2000s too, and it didn't really stick for everyone.
That's a critical point, Eric, and it's often the biggest challenge. Studies have shown that while there can be significant short-term benefits, they might not be sustained beyond 12 months. And weight regain is common upon cessation. A 25-year study even found that very low carb intake was associated with a greater risk of mortality compared to moderate carb consumption. Many experts suggest that if one does use keto, it's a specific, shorter duration. Although other studies have shown the overall risks may be overshadowed by the benefits of keto, with weight loss contributing to lower risk of cardiovascular disease.
Dr. Reed, we've covered so much about the keto diet today, from its scientific underpinnings and benefits to the potential pitfalls and its massive global appeal. For our listeners, especially for someone who might be considering this dietary approach, after hearing all this, what are your key takeaways, your final piece of advice?
My key takeaway is this. The keto diet is a powerful metabolic tool that can offer significant benefits, especially for specific conditions like epilepsy and type 2 diabetes, and for some individuals seeking initial weight loss. However, it's not a magic bullet, and it comes with real challenges and potential risks, particularly in the long term. It demands careful planning and can lead to nutrient deficiencies or other health issues if not done properly. My strongest advice is to approach it with caution, a healthy dose of skepticism, and, most importantly, under the guidance of a qualified healthcare professional, like a doctor or a registered dietitian. It's about personalizing your approach to health, not just following a trend.
Personalizing your approach to health. That's such a perfect encapsulation. Dr. Evelyn Reed, thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights and breaking down such a complex and popular topic for us today. It's been an incredibly informative conversation.
It was my pleasure, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I am Eric Dundell, and this has been Dundell Cyberspace. Until next time.